Howdy ho. So I have been in my Bible. Okay, round one of the balancing act. Okay, so I have been in Genesis. Okay, the Genesis files. And honestly, the revelations are revelating. The revelations are revelating. I was reading the flat earth theory and whatnot, and then I'm thinking about the creation of man and woman, and then the fall of man and woman in the very next chapter verse thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I believe the current now, like if you are now living in the modern era, you see like this gender war happening, man against women, and I was like, oh, I guess this is like a new thing. You know, I think there can be like this false idea that like at one time it was better and there was less trouble between the man and the woman, but if we really look far back enough in history, we see that this is actually nothing new. And honestly, as I was reading Genesis, I was like, oh, this is where it all started. This is where the gender wars all started, right here, right in the freaking Garden of Eden, baby, right here in the Garden of Eden in the fall of man. Okay, can we get into it? And this is why I love the Bible. The Bible is so thick. It's so dense. There's so much like information coded within each and every word, each and every sentence. This is why it's so important that you literally call upon the Holy Spirit and God to reveal the understanding of things to you, to reveal what the message is behind it all, because otherwise you get a little confused. Otherwise you can be like, what am I reading? What's happening here? I feel like I'm missing something. That's often how I feel like I'm missing. I feel like there's a code here that I'm not getting. So it's off of page 1. We get the whole creation of the freaking world. Okay, God made it in 6 days, rested on the 7th day. So we hear about the firmament and we hear about the truth of our planet, which I talked about in a previous video. Like go watch it. My biblical flat earth video, please. Just to catch you up to date where we are in this story so far. So, you know, God created the sun, God created the moon, he created the stars, and then created the plants and the trees and everything that's good to eat. And then he created the livestock and the beast of the field, and then he creates the sneaky crawly things. Okay, so just a little catch up here. All right, so here we see that God made the beautiful earth, and then he makes Adam and he makes humans right in his image, and then he places Adam in Eden, okay, in this beautiful garden where there are all these plants and animals, and he's there naming them, and he realizes, okay, Adam needs a partner. Okay, so I'm gonna make him fall asleep, I'm gonna snatch his rib up, make a whole other woman out of it, bring it to him, and now we see that you guys are a unit now, okay? One flesh, and the man and his wife were both naked and not ashamed. So not only are they in this paradise, okay, but they are at peak innocence, right? Because they are naked, they don't see anything wrong with it, okay? They're not like fluttered by any sin or any negativity, okay? Now let's get into the fall, okay? So the fall, the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord has made. He said to the woman, okay, did God actually say to you, you shall not eat from the tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the trees in the garden, but God said you shall not eat the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden. Now shall you touch it, or lest you die. But the serpent to the woman said, surely you will not die. God knows when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good from evil. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit and ate it, and she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. And then their eyes were both opened, and they knew that they were naked, and that they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths. And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But God called to the man and said, where are you? And he said, I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked. I hid myself. He said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you not to eat? And the man said, the woman whom you gave me to be with, she gave me the fruit of the tree, and I ate it. And then the Lord God said to the woman, what is this that you have done? The woman said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate it. The Lord said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above the livestock and above the beast of the field. And on your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat, in all the days of your life. I will put anonymity between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. To the woman he said, I surely will multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten of the tree which I commanded you, you shall not eat it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth to you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, until you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, for you are dust, and dust you shall return. Damn. Lord God made for Adam and his wife garments of skins and clothed them. Then the Lord God said, behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Now lest he reach out his hand and take also the tree of life and live forever. Therefore the God sent him out from Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he was taken. He drove out the man, and at the east of the Garden of Eden he placed a cherub and a flaming sword that turned every way to guard the way of the tree of the life. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's dial it back, okay? Let's dial it back. So here we're here in the garden. Adam and Eve, they're vibing. They have all their needs met. They have all their food needs met, all the deliciousness. Okay, they're in the garden. And a very crafty beast of the field, okay? And I love the distinction here because a little bit earlier in Genesis, we see God makes a distinction between livestock, beasts of the field, and creeping and crawling things, okay? There's a curse is to become a creepy crawly thing, which is very interesting. Again, because you have done this, I've cursed you above all the livestock and above all the beasts of the field. You're on your belly, you shall go, dust you shall eat all the days of your life. Why? Because, you know, they're on the ground now, okay? I will put in, and I have to look this up. Actually, I have my phone, hold on. Let me look it up now, before I forget. Movie called The War Room keeps coming up in my suggestions. Have you guys seen it? Like, I don't know what that's about. I'm not really into war, so I don't know why that's like popping up on my feed consecutively. I'm not sure.
Enmity.
Hold on, let's do it again.
Enmity.
Enmity. Okay, the state of feeling or being actively opposed or hostile towards something. And enmity. Boo and the woman. I don't think.
Passages, Genesis chapter 3.
Should we ask? Maybe that was a sign to ask. Google. Wait. Who knows? Google's not a technological serpent. Okay, who is God talking to in Genesis 3:15? Okay, so he's still talking to the serpent here. Okay, so it says that he's actually, yes, he's still talking to the serpent, to Satan. Okay, so the serpent is basically a vessel for the demonic forces, if you will, negative forces. And the offspring of the devil versus the offspring, her offspring. And it's just, this apparently is supposed to be like a reference to later on when Jesus will come, right? And how there will be this good versus evil, okay? The children of Satan versus the children of God versus Jesus Christ, okay? And the believers of Christ versus negative forces, okay? So he shall bruise your head and you shall bruise his heel, okay? So head versus heel. Yeah, the most he can do is nip at our ankle, okay? But we got him on the head, okay? So so basically he will never be able to get over on us again because he's literally brought to a lowered state of existence is how I'm perceiving this right now. Oh my God, there's such a big hawk eagle thing in front of me. It's so cool. I don't know, I can't flip the camera, but that's very cool. The woman, he said, surely I will multiply your pain in childbearing, okay? Desire shall be for your husband and he shall rule over you, okay? And I see this all the time where women are always, whether they admit it or not, they are always seeking that partnership. They're always seeking that man, right? So it's always on their mind. It's always ruling over them. It dictates them. That's why now we have this thing of like decenter men. Why? Because men are the focus for a majority of women. And then this is a punishment. This is a punishment from God for Eve eating the fruit and giving the fruit to Adam, okay? Now he's going to be on the forefront of your mind all the time, and yet you're going to be chasing after him for your husband, and he shall rule over you, right? This is where all this codependency and this need comes from, I believe. This is kind of hinting towards that you're always going to be just highly over affectionate for him, and yet he's going to have this dominion over you, this rule over you because of your deep desire that is now for him. How many times does that play a role in interpersonal relationships, right? Where the woman is desiring that intimacy, that closeness, that togetherness, and instead the man is distant from all of that and instead sees it as an opportunity to rule over her, to take dominion over her, to have a sense of superiority over her, and how that messes up their relationship, because all the woman desires in a healthy bond is to be close in a healthy relationship of love together, to desire for him, and yet instead he just wants to have control over her, creating this really negative thing, okay? For Adam, he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and you have eaten the tree which I commanded you, you shall not eat it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth to you. And you shall eat from the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken from for you are dust, and dust you shall return. Okay? So meaning that at one time, Adam was not given the task of laboring just to eat, laboring just to provide for himself, right? Before, we see at one time it was an easy feat. You just go, you have the plenty of fruits and vegetables all around you, and you just pick it and you go. Now God is banishing them from the garden altogether, right? So that they don't fuck and mess around and go ahead and eat from the tree of life, and now they're living forever in this, condemned state, essentially, and who's to know why that was there in the first place? I wonder if things had gone differently. Well, who knows? But anyway, this wasn't a thing. But now think of the bitterness and resentment that lies within men. Oftentimes, it comes from especially towards women, the fact that they have to work so hard, the fact that they have to do so much, they have to toil so much just to have their basic needs met, just to put a food on the table, as it were, right? And I think deep down inside, they know this was not how it was supposed to be. We were supposed to be able to just eat in surplus and not have to worry about it, but now it will only come through him toiling. Now it will, here, in order to get that goodness that initially was freely given to you, now you're gonna have to go through all these thorns and thistles and hardship just to get that very thing that was at one time freely given to you, okay? How does that not breed resentment, okay? How does it not breed resentment within the women that now she has this increased desire for a man and to bond and connect with him, and all he wants to do is rule over her, okay? It's creating a disconnect, okay? And it's like this, oh my God, it's crazy. And when we go back a little bit into the story of when the serpent came, what I have questions, okay? Was Adam with Eve, and like when the serpent came up, and did only Eve understand the serpent? You know, I have those questions because one, it also signals too, like, okay, God told Adam to not eat of it, right? Don't eat this fruit. Okay, so when the serpent's coming up, why in this whole conversation between Eve and Adam, does Adam never say anything? He literally doesn't speak up and say, hey, you know, no, God told us not to eat of that, okay? Like, let's not even entertain this conversation right now, okay? So no, but he didn't say anything. So either one, but it's there, he's right there with her. It makes it seem like, because it says, hold on, what does it say here? Right, she took the fruit and ate it, and she also gave some to her husband, who was with her. It says it right here, and he ate it, so he was with her the whole time. Adam was there the whole time during this conversation between the serpent and between Eve. We don't know if maybe only Eve could understand the serpent, but it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that, right? It says that he's there, she eats of it, she gives him some, and he eats of it. Never once does he protest. Like, remember, we're not supposed to be doing this right now, okay? And I wonder if that's why it's like a sick joke to have it now where men want to rule over women. It's like, okay, because you didn't want to step up and just, you know, protect, or you didn't want to step up and do the right thing in the moment, now it's going to be your responsibility to rule over this woman. Right? Because, now you're gonna have this like weird desire, or now we're gonna have, when she's desiring you, you're just gonna want to rule over her because you didn't step up in the garden when you were supposed to. You didn't shut the serpent out. You didn't tell Eve no. You didn't say, no, Eve, I'm not eating that fruit just because you ate that fruit. We're not supposed to be eating the fruits. Okay, so God poses a question to Adam. Okay, he says, have you eaten of the tree in which I commanded you not to eat? Okay, and rather than Adam they're very innocent, they're very childlike, they say, okay, first humans, okay, and it just goes to show us that how childlike we can regress back to when we are being held spiritually accountable. Okay, that's just like a little tidbit that I'm getting now. But instead of just Adam confessing and saying, yeah, I ate it, I'm sorry, but what does he do? He shifts blame to Eve. He says, woman whom you gave me to be with gave me the fruit, and then I ate it, right? Like, he had to like make sure to throw Eve under the bus there and say, like, no, she gave it to me, so I ate it. Okay, you and almost shifting blame towards God too. You gave me this woman. Okay, let me see. Okay, the woman whom you have gave me to be with, she gave me the fruit, and then I ate it, right? So we see this lack of responsibility and accountability, even though God did put Adam in charge of the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it, and surely eat of every tree in the garden but the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Okay, so God's very clear. I'm putting you in charge of this garden here, work it, keep it, but don't eat this fruit. And what does Adam do? He eats the fruit, and then he shifts like, oh, but the woman you gave me, she gave me the fruit, so I did it. Okay, so I'm sure that kind of had an effect too on what was therefore then happened. Okay. And then the woman, same thing, not taking accountability, right? Because here we see Eve's true temptation. So God's talking to Eve now and says, what is this that you have done? The woman said, the serpent deceived me and I ate it. Okay, now whether you want to call this a deception or not, but in a little bit in the passage before we get a little bit more information on why Eve actually ate the fruit. The woman saw that the tree was good for food. Okay, so she sees, okay, there is food on it. All right, so maybe she was hungry. Okay, and that it was a delight to the eyes. So once she sees, okay, well it is food. Okay. And it's delightful to see. So maybe allowing the look of a thing to entice her. Okay. And then she says, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise. Okay. So it wasn't that she was just deceived. It was her own desires that got her. She desired the fruit now because she said, oh, it's going to make me wise like God. It's that it was the desire for wisdom outside of the relationship with the one true living God that they were in an intimate bond with, right? Because God's there in the garden with them, talking to them, chatting it up. And rather than just go to the source who created wisdom, who created this whole environment and them to even exist in, she says, no, I want wisdom for myself. I want my own wisdom, right? And rather than ask God, she does the very thing that they have been specifically told not to do. Do not eat the fruit. What immediately happened? they saw that they were naked and were ashamed. So it seems like it's almost like people have, even to this day, this perception that wisdom is going to provide them with some kind of freedom, or instead they went from a liberated state of being naked and free and having a surplus around them to now being ashamed and hiding from God, hiding from their creator, and now dealing with the consequences and the hardships that come with that. He literally could have said, hey, I told you guys were going to die, so out you go. But instead he's like, you know what, I'm going to actually make some clothes for you because I can see you guys are feeling some kind of way, and I'm also going to get you out of Eden because there's also a tree of life here that if you eat that, you're living forever, and I don't want you guys living like that. That wasn't part of the plan, okay? So not like this. Ate it. And rather than Eve saying like, hey, I was enticed with its beauty and wisdom, and I fell. She kind of, same thing as Adam, shifting blame. Oh, the serpent did, as if the serpent was forced the fruit down their mouth. All he did was entice them, right? Now, the relationship between the serpent or negative forces versus what will be the redemption of man, right, through Jesus Christ. We're always going to be at odds with one another, okay? And then the men and the women are always going to be odds at each other. Why? Because the woman is going to now have a desire to be intimate and be, not intimacy just purely in a physical sense, but I mean like a deep, profound connection with one another. And then the man is going to feel like, no, I just have to rule over you. Why? Because that initial thing, when we were in the garden together, happy, had everything we need, I wasn't ruling over you. And now we're in this messed up situation. You know what I'm saying? And then the woman, forced for the painful childbearing, okay, to show, I think that's symbolism too for God to say like, you are my children and you've caused me so much pain and this was not necessary, okay? This did not have to happen like this. And I was talking to my mom, she got really like in her feelings about this verse. She was like, I don't believe that because, yeah, you feel all this pain, but once the baby's there, then you have all this love that takes place. And I think that is so on par, because God is literally showing us like, even though you have caused me this pain, even though you have caused me this aching through your birth, through your inception process, I still have so much love for you that I'm allowing you to live on. Okay, you're not going to live on exactly the way that you initially were, but opposed to death, which is what was initially said to them. Okay, it's quite okay. They still are pretty much let off the hook there. Not let off the hook, but they're still at least given the chance to live. And then too, what also gets into the relation, like in the way of relationships, right? In modern day times, right? Childbearing is such a big thing right now for like us modern ladies, because it's like, I'm gonna go through all of this, all these hormonal changes, all this pain, all this suffering for what at the end of the day? Like for you to mistreat me, for you to try to have dominion over me, for you to have a superiority complex over me, for you to then leave me for somebody else, and do it all over again. It's like it creates that hardship of like, I'm gonna go through all this pain for what? It creating a wedge, right? And then also that deep desire also creating problems, right? Because it's like, rather than have a healthy back and forth, it's like this, like a woman needing that man's validation and attention, creating more friction, right? And then with the man, it's like now he's so preoccupied with working and where he didn't initially have to, right? If they had to follow God's plan, they wouldn't have to. The man would not have to toil. The ground would have not been cursed against him. That he has to work, hard at all. He has to toil just to get what he needs, his needs met. He's so preoccupied on that, I have to get my needs met, I have to toil just to survive now, that his attention is no longer on his wife, on his partner, and being in a bond together, right? That's why she's always after him, seeking his love. You will always, how does that, your desire will be for your husband, and then his only thing is, I gotta put food on the table, and I gotta toil to do this, and now I gotta keep make sure I'm on top of you to make sure we don't end up in anything like this again. It's like the inner resentment was started right there in the garden. You can't tell me otherwise, right? You can't tell me that didn't leave a cellular dent in all of us. That one story right there, where we had everything literally given to us in this beautiful existence and place of being, that if you think about it, we're always trying to revert back to. What is everybody always, I hear this like stream of consciousness all the time of like, oh my gosh, God gave us this earth for free. Like, why are we toiling to like eat and drink? That should just be something that's natural and free to us. It was at one time, but it was through our own mistakes. And I think also probably a lack of our accountability, right? And a lack of our forthcomingness to be like, right? Because immediately Adam blames Eve blames the serpent, and they never once say, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did it. Like, they do eventually. I did it because of this other thing, right? So out of the garden, right? And we're always trying to revert back to that, right? To that union of just like being in love or being together, having our needs met, and not being so worried about shame. Also too, I just got another little thing. Okay, how they were naked and they saw they were naked and they were ashamed. How they are now rejecting their very natural nature, right? Because of this knowledge of good and evil, right? And we may think like, how could that be bad? How could knowledge of good and evil be a bad thing? I think the right thing at the wrong time is still wrong. Okay, like for warning, I guess maybe, but it's like X. Love me, okay, you get what I'm saying, right? that is a beautiful thing. That's a natural thing, right? But giving that to that understanding, or showing maybe a child that, would take away their innocence, right? Because there's some things that are before its time would actually be a hindrance. A good thing in the wrong time can actually create a whole bunch of problems. Here's another example if that was a little too weird. Okay, think about driving. I'm in a car, right? We all love to drive. Driving gets us from A to B. We get to take trips. We get to create and do so much with our cars, right? But imagine a parent, imagine parent one who was like, oh, driving is such a good thing. I'm going to start teaching my kid to drive that too. I'm going to literally give my 2-year-old the keys to the car, and I'm going to put him in the passenger, and I'm going to put the car and drive, and I'm going to just let them do their thing, because cars are good. Essentially, no, but the parent B says, no, I'm going to wait till my kid's 16, 15, and I'm going to teach them before handing them the keys, before giving them their own keys in their own car. I'm speaking parallels here to the wisdom, right? So, and before giving them their own keys, I'm first going to teach them so that they're safe, so they know how to operate their vehicle properly, okay? That way that we can refrain from getting in an accident, because although a car is a good thing, it can lead to death, right? Like sin leads to death. Like leaning on our own understanding, right? Because that's another Bible verse that says, there's a way that seems right to a man, but surely will lead to death, right? If it seems right to me, what would I call it? Oh yeah, that's wise, that's smart, that's something good to do. But yet, because I'm leaning on my own understanding, 2-year-old in the driver's seat, something may seem like a good idea. Had I been a little bit more mature and got my lessons first, I know, actually, no, I'm at a stop sign. I need to stop. Even though, yes, there's a road in front of me, there's a stop sign here too. I need to stop. Okay, I don't know if this analogy is getting a little too out there, but basically, doing something but prematurely can actually be bad. It actually shows a lack of care. Although I think sometimes, either atheists or non-believers try to make it seem like, oh, God would maybe want us ignorant, or let me not even say it like that. Okay, maybe there could be like a misread of this, of like, what did God want us to be ignorant, or did God want us to be dependent? But it's actually for our protection, right? When you love your child and you want to protect them, there's certain things you keep them from until a due time, in order to make sure that they're able to sustain and be protected in that process. So this video is getting really long, so I think I might wrap it up there unless I get anything else. But yeah, you can't tell me otherwise. You cannot tell me that this gender war did not start in the Garden of Eden itself, right? When we literally had everything we could ever ask for. We literally were given like the keys to the kingdom, in essence, like heaven on earth, and yet we disobeyed God and we got each other locked up in sin, and therefore dealt with the repercussions, right? Eve could have said, have resentment, because it's like, Adam, you were here before me, you knew that, like, we're not supposed to be eating from this too. You've been around here. I don't know how much longer he was there for than Eve, but, Eve could have been like, why did you stop me, Adam? And then Adam would be like, why are you giving it to me? And then Eve's probably thinking, well, why did you eat it? And it creates this back and forth going on today. Even when we think about like how triggered men get, like when women are intelligent or are seeking ambition or in seeking higher knowledge, right? I wonder if it's like a core wound into like, remember when you initially wanted wisdom in that garden? Remember when you initially were seeking wisdom in the garden, and it led us here, where now we're in this effed up situation, And then I wonder, for women, do we have like this anxiety towards men of like, I feel like you're going to try to control me and do this, because it's literally how we were cursed to be. Through our own mistake, through our own sin, disobedience to God, amidst getting everything we could ever ask for, things that we're now forever chasing now was initially given to us freely, until we went and messed up the whole thing. So anyway, we might make this into a series if I get more revelation, but for now, I think that's all. Let me know what you think. Do you think the battle between the sexes, the battle between men and women, and the gender wars really started in the Garden of Eden? You let me know down below. Okay, bye.